残酷な天使のように少年よ神話にな
れ。Hello, everybody.
Welcome in.
Welcome in. Welcome to the fourth episode of Evangelion, Neon Genesis Evangelion. Yes. Now, the title of this episode is Reign After the Escape. Now, this is off of the Ava Wiki and also Hedgehogs Dilemma. That's something that I want to correct at the very beginning of this episode because last episode that we recorded, I got it confused and kind of put it down as being Hedgehogs Dilemma originally, but that's what this original title was. And then also Netflix has a different title for it too.
Yeah, it's Reign After Running Away. And then it said Hedgehogs Dilemma. And then I was really confused. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what the name of this episode is, but it's good. I like it. It was good.
Well, if you have been listening, we have taken a couple of weeks off on this. This is our return
after our summer hiatus.
That was our summer break. So we've already released a couple of quick casts since then, and then also a couple of our longer form podcasts. And now we're getting back into this Neon Genesis Evangelion special edition podcast for us.
That's right.
So we're kind of back into it now. Episode 1, 2, and 3 have been kind of a ride for everybody. It really does a great job of introducing you into the whole entire world that they're living in.
Yeah, pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And you get a lot out of it, I think, in those first 3 episodes, which is cool.
This is the first slower episode. More character development.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, there's not a lot, like, we were talking beforehand. There's not a lot that happens in this episode, but there's a lot that happens to the characters in this episode, in my opinion.
It's a very, very big Shinji-centric episode, which is really great because you get to see a lot of him not interacting with people, just interacting with himself.
Absolutely.
This might have been one of the first times that he was ever alone in his world for an extended amount of time, and it was really only a couple of days in this episode.
Yeah.
Basically, the overview of the whole episode, Misato is pretty upset with Shinji because of what he did in the last episode by bringing the boys into it and ignoring her orders.
Right.
And she is she's still stressed out about it, but Shinji is more stressed out about it. So he takes what I call Shinji's long walk. He takes a walk around everywhere, and that's where I think he's never really been alone that much.
Right.
So he's actually had the time to go and just not necessarily discover himself, but basically get out there into the world and kind of see things through his own eyes instead of having somebody tell him what to do. This is his first little bout of freedom.
Right.
For a 14-year-old to take a long walk like this and go everywhere around the city, ride the train forever, listen to his, bubblegum pop, techno music on his SDAT machine, sit on the train and not really pay attention to anything, but Jesus
head
just lost
down
in thought
the whole time.
Exactly. Yeah. The Hedgehog's Dilemma.
And he rides that thing for a while.
He rides it till the end of the line.
Like, get out.
Yeah. Even the one dude doesn't even move over on the train at all. Just stays by him the whole time. He even falls asleep.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, that guy's violating some personal space right there.
Well, I was going to say that also I think Misato has a little bit of growth in this as well as is it Suzuhara?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think all of them really do, except for Kinsuke, which he's still a dick.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think
think
he's an instigating kind of little asshole, but he still does have a lot of good intentions.
Yeah, I think he has some honor, like some self-inflicted honor, which is probably a good thing.
And Toji does too. Toji, you see it at the end of this episode that Toji really does kind of step up and is forced by Kinsuke to really like step up and be like, hey, I'm sorry. Yeah. You got to hit me one too. We'll get into that here in a little while. So Shinji actually does wander around Tokyo 3 forever. He really kind of he gets out on his own. He leaves the note from Misato at the very beginning, which is kind of crazy because Misato is still not, after all of this, and it's been 5 days since the last battle.
Right.
But Misato still, after months of being at her house, is not even moved in yet. It's still not moved in.
And she looks like apartments that I lived in when I was like 20-something. You know?
Exactly,
Like, I'm like,
yeah.
oh, I lived here for 6 months and I haven't done shit.
I haven't even unpacked one box except for my
I don't think I had
unmentionables.
anything that bad.
Right.
Like, I don't think I ever did that.
Yeah, it's like
No,
our
I
whole
was-
house is just full of Ubishu beer and
Right.
nothing
Boxes.
else. Yeah, we don't get to see Pin in this episode.
That's
It's
true.
kind of a letdown
That's
for
true,
it.
yeah.
Now it starts off with her kind of wandering around the place, and she discovers that he's gone, so she gets really, really worried for him. Toji and Kinsuke come over, and that's when they kind of knock on the door, and they're not even expecting her whatsoever. They're like, "Oh, hey."
Right.
You know, and Suzahara, all of a sudden, he becomes really like proper at that point, because he's like, "Oh, I'm going to stand at attention." You know, oh my God, it's a good looking woman. Whoa, boy, you know. So he's there, and they kind of. She doesn't let on that he's gone. She doesn't let on that anything is really happening. But she's called him an idiot like more than once already.
Right.
She's like, idiot. You know, and you could tell that, like you said, she's kind of grown a little bit, because she's really like, how do you say? She's feeling the remorse. She knows
Right.
that she maybe might have come down a little hard on him, but we don't get to see that for a little bit right up front. Misato's happy to see them too, because she knows that Shinji's actually got friends, because in the last couple of episodes she's been talking about how he doesn't really have any friends.
Doesn't
He's
get
not
phone
close.
calls.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, the phone that doesn't ring. And she still doesn't let on. She's like, "Oh, he's at a training deal. Cool." So, and she shuts the door, and then she starts kicking everything, you know, like, idiot. Damn. And then that's when Shinji's on the train for, it seems like, forever. He's on a train for like a day or so.
All my life he's on that train. Yeah, and it's cool. I like the way they did the art where the people are disappearing and
They show up and they leave, and then more show up and then they leave. He finally gets to the very, very end of the line, and that's when he finally looks up too, because he's got that song on repeat.
Well, and I think, is it before this where he's at the sunrise? Because I'm pretty sure that's like right after. Isn't that where she checks on him?
No,
am I
that's
wrong?
yeah. That's kind of towards more at the end from what I remember.
With the pinks and the clouds and all
No,
that?
no, that's after he's walking at that point.
Okay.
And things kind of go a little bit crazy for him, because the first time that you get to see him, he's on the train.
Okay, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
My apologies, fans.
Right.
It's my first time. Be gentle.
So he when he gets off the train, that's when he kind of almost has that little, I don't know. He goes into the movie theater, and in the movie theater, he's in there for like a long time too. You know, it's like an all night movie theater that's playing.
It's
There's
like
only
a shitty movie theater.
right.
Yeah.
It's like an old kung fu theater. But yeah, if you listen to the background for it, they're talking about it's a Third Impact movie.
Oh, okay.
So they're really kind of talking about like there's a scientist in it, and there's two other people that are like, I can't leave. And they're like, oh, I understand your honor, but the Earth's axis is tilted by 3 degrees. There's a huge tsunami coming, and then the two people are making out. The bum's sleeping on the floor, and Shinji's just there watching. You know, he's seeing that interaction from those two people down there because he's watching them. Kind of creepy, like almost, but. And after
I think
that,
he's just interested. You know what I mean? I don't think that it's meant to be creepy.
No, not
his
at all.
part.
Yeah, not at all. But it's kind of weird.
But if I was like the guy making out and I looked up and this little weird kid's looking at me, and
with his headphones in, because he's walking the streets after that too. He wakes up. Because he sleeps in like some like automat type of a place, like by a couple of machines or something like that. So he kind of gets up and
this is where we see the sunrise.
Yes,
the pinks and the
reds,
and the reds,
and then that's when he has that mini freak out where everything just gets so super loud, and it's like he has a panic attack, almost a nervous breakdown.
Yep.
So that's his breaking point right there. So then he decides to set out on foot.
Right.
Then he goes up to the very top of Tokyo 3, and he's looking down, and you can see the whole city from below, and that's when the wind's blowing really big.
Well, and he says, I got to go home, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming, is he talking about his sensei's place?
That's what I took from it, too, that he's basically looking to get back to what he knows the most, because this is all brand new. It's probably only been like 3 weeks since he got there anyway.
One of the things that I found I really liked in this was the shadowing.
Yes.
That was really good.
They do very good with that cinematography.
Yeah,
in these
and then
parts.
the backgrounds in this part were really good as well. So the art is spot on.
Yeah, and he's sitting at the edge of the cliff, and I thought that was a very, very important kind of thing to notice, that he was basically on edge that whole time.
Oh yeah,
And he's basically sitting on that edge of that cliff beyond the fence that's right in front of him, and he's just kind of head down, and you can tell that he's at his breaking point, or that's it for him. And then, of course, he walks, and he's walking forever. That's whenever they kind of cut back they're at the lab. Ray's getting scanned.
yeah.
So
This
Ray's
is where we
still-
find out he is 14.
Yeah, he's 14.
Yeah.
Ray's 14 too, because you can see in the little infographic on the bottom of the deal, she's 14 as well. So you're kind of putting the little pieces together at this point too about what's actually happening.
Right.
You know, why these children are there. And, you know, the Dr. Akagi basically says something like, yeah, we have to put all of our trust into these 14-year-olds. It's not our fault we have to do this. While they're scanning Ray. You know, because she's still fucked up.
Yeah.
'Cause it was a major, major thing that happened to her
We don't know yet.
that we haven't got to see yet. So she's still bandaged up, but yet they're doing her scan on her, kind of checking everything out, making sure she's still good. And that's when Misato and Rizko are still talking kind of in the lab, kind of laying everything out. Like, man, we can't really do anything about these 14-year-olds, but, you know, you got to be tough on them a little bit. And, you know, we're counting on these people to do what we want them to, which is kind of hard for them, you know, which they really do have a lot of interaction between, you know, Rizko and Misato a lot in these episodes too, because you can kind of see their friendship is something that they really stick around with, you know what I mean? They really talk to everything. She talks about him not really coming back, and it might be better for him, you know?
Right.
And then they kind of go into where Misato is scolding him after the battle. Mm-hmm. She's basically telling him that, you know, you should listen to what I'm having to say, and all these, the only thing that he's really saying is like, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And she's taking it totally the wrong way.
Right.
She's pissed off at him because he's...
Well, she obviously, throughout this so far, she's pretty impulsive, like, wears her emotions on her sleeve.
Like a big sister.
Yeah.
Or a mom.
Right.
It's like, don't just... If you're agreeing with me, that's not how you should be.
Right.
Should be... Is any of this sinking into you? He's like, yes, ma'am, I understand, but you got to understand that this is what my job is, pretty much. This is what I got to do. We won, didn't we? We actually beat the angel, so it doesn't matter what I do or how I feel about it. I got my job done. So he's kind of looking at it like that, like a straight linear, like my job is done. You should be happy with the way I did it.
Exactly.
You know,
you should be happy it got done regardless.
Correct. Yeah, and she's not happy with it because he's not following orders. He's not listening, but yet he's acting a little, I don't know, like, you know, fuck it. But she wants him to feel more.
Well, he's very melancholy. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. He says something like, if he's the only one that can pilot, then so I'll pilot it. I mean, this is what my lot in life is now, I guess. You know, this is it. This is what makes everybody happy, so I'm going to make everybody happy.
Right.
Which, again, that's not really... I mean, as a 14-year-old, you're still finding your identity.
Absolutely.
A little bit. And then if you get thrust into a world where you have to
I feel like
save,
at 24-year-olds are pretty much finding their identity.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? So,
And at 14, everything's going on like we've talked about before. Everything is going and going and going. And now you're having to save the world and save the city and save all these people in it.
and puberty.
Yeah. 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 Boy, all the time. I mean, it's kind of, it's crazy. That's whenever he's walking through the that's when you see, Ida. He's playing guns in the tall grass, you know, acting out, which is pretty cool. It's just it's a kid thing to do, you know.
For sure.
He's out there by himself because, you know, all these kids are kind of in the same spot, but he's dealing with it in his own way.
Absolutely.
That introduction into it is really cool too. I like how they kind of they frame that too, to where it's him in the shadows and he's just playing, and then he stops and he looks up.
Yeah.
So and then it's still quiet because it's really quiet out in the wilderness, you might say. He gets up and he's walking by. Shinji's walking by, which is weird.
Right.
It's like, the newbie's here. That's weird. So he yells out to him, and they actually have their little interaction too. I really feel at this point like Shinji knows that they're going to be coming after him. Nerve's going to be looking for him in some way.
Yeah.
He knows it's only a matter of time before they do find him. And so he's just kind of trying to get trying to stay mobile as much as he can.
Yeah.
To really kind of, not necessarily, because in a couple of days he's not really going to experience much, but he's going to still see a lot of